Grabbing a handful of front brake while leaned over in a corner sounds like a direct recipe for an instant low side. If you've spent any time on forums, in beginner riding groups, or reading old-school training manuals, you've probably had this rule drilled into your head. Do all of your braking in a straight line, get off the brakes completely, and then tip the bike into the turn. It sounds safe. It sounds logical. In reality, it is a complete myth. And by completely letting go of the brakes before you lean, you are actively giving up control over the single most important variable in motorcycle handling: mid-corner suspension loading. This is motorcycle control explained. We don't do fluff, and we don't follow rules just because they've been repeated for 30 years. We look at physics, engineering, and tire dynamics. Today, we are breaking down why finishing all your braking in a straight line is actually destabilizing your motorcycle, and how mastering the art of trail braking changes your geometry, unlocks massive amounts of front-end grip, and gives you a safety margin you didn't know existed. To understand why traditional braking advice fails, we have to look at how a motorcycle is designed to turn. Your bike does not steer just because you turn the bars or lean your body. It steers because of its steering geometry specifically. Two factors: rake and trail. Rake is the angle of your front forks relative to a vertical line, and trail is the distance between where your steering axis hits the ground and the center of your tire's contact patch. When your bike is sitting completely static or cruising at a steady speed, its geometry is neutral. The front forks are extended, the wheelbase is long. Now, imagine what happens when you follow the old school advice. You approach a sharp bend. You brake hard in a straight line. Your front forks compress massively under that forward weight transfer. This is a good thing. It shortens the wheelbase and steepens the rake, making the bike want to pivot. But then, right before you tip the bike in, you completely release the brake lever. What happens? The front end violently pops back up. When that suspension rebounds right at the turning point, two dangerous things happen instantly. First, the geometry slackens, the wheelbase elongates, the steering angle gets lazier, and the bike actively fights your input to turn. It wants to stand up and run wide. Second, the front tire unloads. The weight shifts abruptly backward toward the rear shock. Your front tire's contact patch, the actual piece of rubber keeping you glued to the road, shrinks right at the exact moment you are asking it to steer you through a corner. You aren't riding a stable machine. You are riding a mechanical pogo stick. Trail braking is not an advanced racing trick meant only for the track. It is a fundamental survival skill for the street. The definition of trail braking is simple. It is the act of carrying, or trailing, your front brake pressure past the initial turn-in point and smoothly bleeding it off as you increase your lean angle. Instead of letting the front suspension violently rebound before the turn, you use the brake lever to control the speed of that rebound. You are managing the pitch of the motorcycle. When you execute this correctly, the physics shift entirely in your favor. First, you optimize the steering geometry. By keeping a small amount of brake pressure applied as you tip into the corner, you keep those front forks compressed. The bike's wheelbase remains short, the rake remains steep, and the motorcycle will fall into the corner with a fraction of the physical effort. It feels like the bike is on rails because you are working with its design, not against it. Second, you physically maximize your grip. Think of your front tire like a sponge. If you just roll over a puddle with a dry, unweighted sponge, it won't absorb much. But if you press down on that sponge, it squishes outward, expanding its surface area. Under trail braking, the forward weight transfer physically smushes the front tire's contact patch into the asphalt. More surface area equals more mechanical grip when you need it most. Mastering this transition requires shifting your mental model from an on or off switch to a fluid scale. You have a finite budget of total grip 100%. If you are using 80% of your grip for braking, you only have 20% left for leaning. As lean angle goes up, brake pressure must come down. Here is the exact 3-step method to execute perfect mid-corner suspension loading. Step 1. The initial bite. Do your heavy lifting while the bike is upright. As you approach the corner, apply your front brake smoothly but firmly to get the majority of your deceleration out of the way. This initiates the forward weight transfer and sets your entry speed. Step 2. The melt. This is where the magic happens. As you initiate your steering input and begin to lean the bike over, you do not snap the brake lever open. Instead, imagine your brake fingers are connected to your lean angle by a literal piece of string. As the bike leans further down, your fingers must smoothly melt away from the lever. If you are at 15 degrees of lean, you might still have 15% brake pressure. At 30 degrees of lean, you're down to 5% brake pressure. You are actively trading braking force for cornering force. Step 3. The seamless handoff. By the time you reach the apex of the corner, the point where your lean angle is at its maximum and your speed is at its lowest, your brake pressure should smoothly hit 0. At that exact microsecond, your fingers completely clear the lever, and you smoothly transition your wrist to a maintenance throttle to balance the chassis for the exit. Let's talk about why this matters on the street. If you finish all your braking in a straight line and enter a corner on a neutral throttle, and suddenly a hazard appears, what is your instinct? Your instinct is to panic and grab the brakes. But because your suspension was completely unloaded, grabbing the brakes while leaned over will instantly shock the front tire, overload the contact patch, and cause a low-side crash. Alternatively, the bike will abruptly stand up and plow you straight off the road. If you are already trail braking into that corner, your front suspension is already loaded. Your tire is already compressed. Your fingers are already resting on the brake lever. If a hazard appears, you don't have to reach for the brakes and shock the system. You simply freeze your lean angle, smoothly apply a fraction more pressure, and tighten your radius, or slow the bike down safely. Trail braking isn't about going faster. It is about buying yourself an engineering safety net when things go wrong. It takes immense mental discipline to carry brake pressure into a bend when your survival instincts are telling you to let go. It requires practice, feel, and a willingness to unlearn bad habits. But if you want true, unshakable control over your machine, you cannot let your front end bounce around through the corners. Control the pitch, manage the load, smooth out the transition. Stop fighting the physics of your machine. Work with it. Follow for more instructional breakdowns and ride safe.